Stand by.
Okay.
We're live.
Oh, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting and inspiring episode of On Location with Zara Durrani. I am so excited to bring you here early in the morning. We are in a beautiful and quaint store here in the heart of downtown Vancouver in Gastown. I discovered this store a few weeks ago while doing some street photography with a friend of mine, and we walked into Charles Van Sandwyk. And this beautiful store makes a perfect space for you to drop by for any holiday last minute gift shopping, but also throughout the year. And then I was astonished to find that all this beautiful artwork here, the books, the drawings, everything was done by this wonderful, talented artist, Charles Van Sandwyk, who woke up super early this morning to welcome us to his beautiful store. Thank you so much for inviting us.
Well, thank you for coming and thank you for such a stellar introduction. That's great. Very kind of you.
I'm so happy and grateful and excited that I came upon your store and got a chance to meet you that day. As I was mentioning earlier, I felt like I'd stepped back in time. You know, it made me feel like I was a kid again growing up in Pakistan, and you know, the wardrobe, the Lion and the Witch,
Right,
and
yeah.
I literally, this is a vibe. I mean, we can see what it looks like in here, but the warmth in this location, in this store, it's mesmerizing. So,
Well,
how long have you been here?
We've been here, we'll be 2 years this Christmas. The work that you see on the walls and the books and cards, we have supplied to galleries and bookshops for nearly 40 years. But 2 years ago, my assistant Waisiki said, come on, Charlie, you're getting old. Let's open a shop. And I was warned about the nightmares of being in retail, which are true. But no one told me how much fun it was going to be. It really is a lovely, it's a lovely experience. It's a life adventure, you know, and so it's really nice to be able to put all this work together. I didn't think we had enough material for a shop. And Waisiki did a quick calculation. He said, you know, you've written almost 80 books, so half of them are still in print. Let's put them out on the tables, and we've pulled some paintings out. And we've also added more work as the years have gone by, but it really is a lot of fun. I have a lovely landlady. It's like family around here. My neighbors are great, you know, but three incredible artisans downstairs. And the shop kind of has a European feel, the building. So it just felt right. It felt right. And it's been a lot of fun so far. I hope we can continue, you know.
Well, I really feel the love and the warmth and the dedication, and of course the artistry, the creativity. Great for adults, but also for the kids.
Well, sure. I mean, this work is mostly created for the child that's still in the grown-up, if you know what I mean. We have kids come in who like the work too, but the modern tastes for children are more for transformers and you know, all kinds of there are all kinds of distractions for kids. So it is nice when they come in here and see what an old-fashioned Christmas can look like.
I love that. Now you have Julian was pointing out something and it totally distracted me. You are obviously you were not born in Canada, you're from South Africa.
Yes, correct.
I was trying to pinpoint your accent earlier. I grew up in Pakistan. By the age of 7, I lived in 7 different countries.
Oh my goodness.
You know, talking about South Africa, like as soon as I hear South Africa, I think of cricket.
Oh yes.
You know, cricket and then rugby. Like those are the two things. So tell me about your childhood a bit and how it inspired and shaped you into becoming the artist, the author that you are today.
Well, I've been drawing since I can remember, and my parents would take us to the game reserve, Kruger Park, when we were kids, and we'd also visit my uncle's farm in a little town called Bethlehem in the Orange Free State. And growing up surrounded by animals and the colors of Africa, which I don't think have ever left me, you know. It was greatly inspiring. I loved my childhood in South Africa. And my uncle had a wonderful farm, and the farm workers, I remember particularly there was a young African lad, young farm boy, probably about 15 or 16, and I was 7 or 8, and he taught me to build little clay oxen would dig clay from the riverbank, and he'd flatten an area with a stick to frighten away the snakes, and sit down and roll little plum-sized balls of clay, and I just thought, you know, a creative expressing with your hands was just such a delight. Now I made little clay oxen that didn't look anything like his. He was beautiful, a beautiful artist, and that's always been at the forefront of anything I've done. I've always worked with my hands. I've always had hobbies, you know, and even growing up here in Canada. The kids at school, we'd walk home from school at the end of the day, and the kids would say, "Hey, come, let's go and get a Slurpee and go and play video games at one of their houses." And I'd always beg off and say, "No, I'm just going to go home." And they'd say, "What's the matter? Don't you like us?" I said, "No, I like you very well. I've had 6 hours of you, but I've got to go and do my own thing now." And I suppose that's when I could tell that I was going to write and draw, is I needed my own time to kind of put my expressions down on paper. It was vital to me.
And I think it sounds like you didn't allow peer pressure to affect you.
Oh no, I was seriously square as a kid. Yeah, absolutely.
But that also means you were in touch with yourself. So I did grade 11 and 12, like a bit of grade 11 and 12 here. I struggled because in Pakistan I was, I love that.
Oh yeah, so we have a cuckoo clock.
I love that.
You okay?
I'm doing great. It was quite fascinating, like coming to Canada and like adjusting to life here compared to Pakistan. I was like part of the debate team and like I was quite square, you know, I was like a very studious student, and that was considered really cool.
Yeah.
And also I spoke English, so I had this experience of like living in different countries. So everyone was like, "Oh my God, she's smart, she's in the debate team, she's performing as an actor," because I did that from a very young age.
Right.
So, and also I was like a teacher's pet, you know?
Yep.
We used to have head girl, head boy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The class prefect. So I did all of that.
This is back in Pakistan.
Back in Pakistan, because it's very much inspired by the British school system.
Absolutely, as was mine in South Africa.
In South Africa.
So how was it for you when you came here?
Very different.
Yeah.
It was. I thought I would be able to quickly, you know, understand, because I watched a lot of movies. You think that okay, you understand the culture.
Yeah.
No, it's not. You know, even my hair, it's like a flat iron right now. I have like big curly hair. I didn't know how to style my hair, so I had like this Diana Ross, like a very, like wavy hair.
You would have been a force to be reckoned with.
But when you're in high school, you know, it's like they will make comments about everything, and you, as a teenager, you take things personally. So I really want to commend you on that, and I think for any of the teens perhaps watching, like that's really fascinating, and I picked up on the fact that you're like, you know what, you guys do what you're doing. I'm just gonna focus on me, because I think often of my nephew who just started grade 8, and he finished reading. He's like a big reader. By the age of I think 8, he read like all of like Harry Potter, like, you know, cover to cover, like a few times.
Right.
But he was getting bullied and struggling in school. So I like really love the fact that you were able to draw the line and say, no, and I'm gonna focus on this. And do you think that allowed you to go into perhaps a fantasy world a
For
bit?
sure. Oh yes.
And allowed you to get more creative?
I think that I've stayed very fortunately in touch with all of the things from my childhood and pre-childhood, all my earliest memories are still with me because I didn't let the outside noise in. And I think that is, I was lucky to have a lovely mom and dad who were so proud of what I did, you know, as a little boy. I mean, I wasn't doing anything very good, but they thought it was. So at least they gave me the feeling to don't stop, you know. And so I just forged on with it. And yeah, I mean, high school was definitely a hurdle, but at the same time, I had lovely teachers who really, and I was also a teacher's pet, you know. I liked pleasing them, and I liked making beautiful things, and they were my teachers. Well, my grade 6 teacher, Mr. Zavados, taught me calligraphy, and he's still my friend. He and his wife had a sleepover at my house a couple of weeks ago, which was so adorable. They were taking me for dinner, and I said, "How are you going to get home? Because you live in, you know, all the way in across town." They said, "Oh, well, we'll find a little hotel." I said, "Just bring a toothbrush." So they stayed at my place with me, and they're in their mid-70s. And it's just so nice that I always thought Mr. Zavados was sort of my guardian angel, you know. And I still use the skills that those teachers in high school taught me. Still use them in my career today. So it was pretty important, you know.
So let's talk about your books, because I was shocked because I didn't meet you right away. I met Indica, who was, you know, running the store when I came in.
Yeah.
And Indica happened to mention that, okay, yeah, these were all done by the same author who wrote the books, who drew, and then you just happened to walk in. And I was so awestruck because I had not heard of the fact that it's a lost art. Like writing, like the beautiful calligraphy,
well, yeah,
the art.
It's not common, but in the book arts and for artists who make books, this is actually quite it's quite recognizable and used. But usually artists' books are not in the forefront. You don't find them in big bookshops. You know, they are in little rare antiquarian bookshops, and which has really been where most of my material has been discovered. And I should mention too, Indica, who is our designer, as you can see. We can't talk about the shop without talking about Indica. He and his partner have a lovely property on Hornby Island, and I would go and do readings of my poems and stories at their place. They use it like a venue, and we had a lot of people come out, and Indica said, "Look, we should open a shop, you know, it's time." And so he and Waisiki found the location, and we got set up, and then we scoured Vancouver Island for antiques to put in the shop. And Indica is a genius at that. And even found this beautiful old fireplace mantle for us too. So that's kind of the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe thingy that you were talking about earlier. Yeah, and we're writing a children's fantasy novel about it, about a goblin that lives in the clock. And sorry, back to what you were asking about the books. Yeah, this one, Tree Whispers, it was a poem that came to me in a dream. The first half, you know, I've never dreamed in rhyming couplets before, but it came to me like that. You know, movement on the wooded hill, branches smooth, the stars are still, and so begin the rites of old. Leaf by leaf, the tales unfold. I mean, it was such powerful wordplay, and I always have paper and pen by my bed, so I wrote down what I could, and then I thought, well, that's halfway, and I can't, so I tried to fall back asleep to dream the second half of it. It didn't happen, you know, and so I rode my bicycle to Kate's Park, and I saw a beautiful old cedar tree with all these roots that were twisting and turning into the ground. This is in the middle of the night? No, by now, this dream was sort of 6 in the morning.
Okay.
So I had brekkie, I brushed my teeth, combed my hair, I got on the bicycle and rode to Kate's Park, and I managed to finish the dream under the tree because I thought of those roots and how they hold the world in place. And so that became the Tree Whispers poem.
That's beautiful. Now let's backtrack a little bit. I know we talked of you coming here, going to high school. I love asking everyone how they first got started. Like, where did the inspiration come from? that you wanted to share these stories, you wanted to delve into your imagination and, you know, get connected with the creative part of you. How did you know that you had this gift inside of you all along, that you wanted to share these stories with the world?
Growing up in my parents' house, mom and dad had lots of antique prints and reproductions of old masters' paintings, and I loved this work, and it mesmerized me, the pictures that they'd hang in my bedroom as well. And I grew up with those old children's books, the Beatrix Potter, Peter Rabbit, and Arthur Rackham, the English illustrator, Edmund Dulac, illustrators from 100 years ago. And it resonated so strongly with me. And my parents always encouraged play and creativity with me and my brother as for hobbies. They said, you will always be able to amuse yourself if you have a hobby. And as I mentioned, mom and dad thought I was the apple of their eye. And they would say, you know, we love you very much and you have a lot to offer the world. Not that I had a lot to take from the world, but that I was to be a servant of this world, you know, and do what you can, you know, make yourself useful. So it was pretty basic that, you know, they'd be happy with me if I was sitting in a corner writing and drawing. And a lot of this, it's in me, it just seems like it was always there. It was just itching to find a way to come out. And when I went to art school after high school, the teachers were really trying to get me to broaden my horizons and do some abstract work and do some more figurative, large brush strokes. And I said to them, look, you know, I'm not so worried about the grades you give me, but I am trying to hone skills for my own specific set of needs. You know, I think the key to this thing, as any forthright artist will tell you, is to never take no for an answer. Just do what you're going to do anyway. Just
so listen to that inner voice.
Listen to your inner voice. It's very important. And you don't have to, you know, give up your career, but you should spend the little cracks of time in between what you're doing, honing your passions and your skill. And then there'll come a day where it can take over from your day job.
To do the thing, like, I really love talking about this, and especially as an actor, as a performer.
Yes.
The amount of rejection that you receive.
Oh, honey, I have a filing cabinet full of rejection letters. Some people collect stamps. I collect rejection letters.
You're kidding.
Oh no. But you can't, like, you should take heed of it. Oh God, you know, maybe they're right, maybe. But within a day, you've recovered and you don't take no for an answer.
I love that, because I think that's something, whether someone is a performer, a writer, author, illustrator, wanting to start their own business, or even just like a stay-at-home mom, there's something about, I think part of your story, what I'm also hearing, is to listen to that inner voice, to that inner compass, to connect to that inner, like, clock, the little cuckoo.
Oh yeah.
That makes your heart sing. And what is it that makes your heart sing? For me, it is meeting people, connecting to them, and like people who are living their purpose, you know, who are shining, and through whether this or other work that I do, sharing their story. Like, and the fact that perhaps someone watching can resonate with that. You know, it's like, for me, I'm really passionate about meeting people and getting excited about them and having a chance to share their stories.
Well,
so,
and you have a talent for it. Like, you clearly, because I'm really enjoying this. Sometimes interviews are grueling things, you know, but you've got a way of tickling the stories out of people, and that's great, you know. Not everyone can do that.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I mean, I felt like a kid walking into your store, and even right now, it's like I feel like we're in a Hallmark movie, but in the best way,
Sure.
possible. Those are some really, you know, I think a lot of like the greats, or whether it's actors or authors, I've heard like J.K. Rowling. You know how many rejection letters she received.
And how crazy is that?
Yes.
A single mom, poor.
Yeah.
semi-depressed, writes the most unbelievable set of children's stories, and for grown-ups too. Like she broke all the rules in a way, crossovers for everyone, and what a genius! I mean, the things I write are simple, you know. She could write with such complexity, you know, that and brilliance, and she really is amazing, really amazing, and probably for us today, she's, you know, done so well. She's probably the modern equivalent of Beatrix Potter was in the early 1900s, who acquired incredible wealth and bought up the Lake District Land Conservancy. Brilliant people, but from all that talent, you know. So J.K. Rowling is amazing.
And we have Charles Van Sandwyk in Vancouver. So 80 books, that's quite a feat.
Well, some of them are like this. Some of them are only like 20 pages long, and it's not that much of an achievement, you know. But
it is an achievement because I do. It's fascinating. Like over the weekend, Julian, my camera operator, was asking me how my weekend was. So in the last little while, I've really gotten into the habit of journaling. And it's been something that I do on and off, like over the years, inspired by The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron.
Yes.
You know,
James Cameron. Yes.
His ex-wife, former wife, and she talks about writing, but the pen to paper, not computer, not your cell phone, pen to paper, because there's something special about when you have it in your hand, it's connected to you, your body, your soul, and you're getting in touch with what is it that your heart desires, and same with creativity. So whether you're an accountant and you're a part-time, like whatever creative person, it allows you to get in touch. So one of the things that I was journaling about is like really owning my success, like owning like the little wins or whatever. So when you said, oh, just a little book, like for me, this is big. Like, this is massive. Like you have something in print. Like I've written a book as a ghostwriter, but never something with my own name. So I can't really publicly say who I wrote for.
Sure.
But I have not done something with my name. So I would love to hear from you. What advice would you give someone like me who wants to get started? I listened to many YouTubes or authors and stuff, but I would love to hear from you. What advice would you give to me? How to get started on the blank page?
Okay, it'll be practical advice. Do you know what you want to write about?
Yes.
Okay, good. So make a menu. And first sheet of paper, it's like a menu in a restaurant, or you've got hors d'oeuvres, appetizers, main course, and dessert. So think about what the points you want to say in your story, and write them out in point form. Then you have a sheet of paper for each of those points, and brainstorm. Think of all the clever, witty, lovely things and the heartfelt stuff that you want to put it down, and pretty soon and do it in your bedroom, so you can lay everything out on your bed. Have a chair next to your bed, and then and a pad, and then it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You'll start to fit your story together. Otherwise, it's overwhelming. It's too hard to. And then take note of your writing itself. Take note that the words look beautiful on the page. You see, the part of the thing of doing calligraphy or just handwriting is you'll write it out, and if you're having a hard time writing a word and it doesn't fit nicely on the sentence, on the line, take it away and write a simpler word. Your handwriting will help you edit your writing as well, based on, like, if we look, for example, here, this is not great calligraphy, it's just more like handwriting, but you can see the words sort of, run-on lines. They're all sort of similar size. Can you see that? And then so you can sort of massage your artistry so that it looks nice on the page as well. And do that for your own benefit, but it will also be a good editing tool.
So Indica, sorry, we're like talking about everything all over. Indica mentioned that, and you were mentioning earlier that you do readings at Hornby. And I asked Indica, okay, tell me more, what does that mean, what do you mean? And he was like, yeah, the whole like island would come together, because Indica was like, Charles said, I'm not sure how many people will want to come in.
I know.
And Indica said soon it was like the whole place was full of people. So tell me about that experience of, you know, these adults coming together and you sitting there reading from your books.
Well, I suppose, as luck would have it, you know, Hornby Island such a large per capita of artists and artisans and creative types. And we creative people, we love supporting each other. You know, we love turning out for an event. And so, I mean, I've been very spoiled because there were lots of people came. And the first one we did was straight after the final, well, toward the last ripples of the COVID era, you know. And so everyone was itching to go and do something. And we were itching. I was jumping up and down. I love sharing my stories, you know, it's great fun. So on the heels of that, Indica said, wow, this was popular. Well, I think anything would have been popular because it was the first breakout after, and we were out of doors, so it was, you know, not risky, not that risky. And I'd sort of forgotten, you know, I've done little bits and pieces here and there, but it really, when we gained momentum, we've done it every year since, and it's, there isn't anything more fun, I think, than two things I love doing. I love cooking for the people I love, and I love reading stories to anyone who has the grace and patience to listen. Mm-hmm. And so it's great fun. It's great fun. And Hornby is an incredible place.
For like books such as these and like the bigger ones, like do you ever do like a voice record or audiobook version?
I'd like to. Yeah.
Because you have such a great voice and of course the accent to do that. Did you ever hear that from people?
I've heard it and I'd love to. I'd love to. So if you can set me up with someone, Zara, come on.
For sure. I mean, I'm doing like voice auditions all the time, so I'm happy to introduce.
Can I mention something about
please.
this? So there's a very, there's a venerable and gorgeous old publishing house in London, England, called the Folio Society. Okay. And I illustrated this book, The Wind in the Willows, for them nearly 20 years ago. And the Folio Society very, very kindly took me on. They've published 7 books with me. I illustrated Wind in the Willows. Every line I drew as a child was leading me to illustrate this book, which I was able to do in my late 30s. And Waisiki said that he thought that was me at the top of my game. Meaning to me, what has the last 20 years been like since, you know, when your assistant tells you that what you did was at its best 20 years ago, I think it's probably a good idea to fire them, you know.
I think.
Sorry, I'm trying to make a joke. No, but I think what he was trying to say is, it was right for me. It was the right time, and it does remain my favorite thing I've done. And Folio Society have also published a few of my books. I've done illustrated Alice in Wonderland for them as well.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, and there's really a fine. And you see their binding and their production is so good.
As a kid in Pakistan, I like an excerpt from A Wind in the Willows. I read. I'm just shocked. It's sort of like a full circle. This is so fascinating. This is beautiful.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're very proud of our connection with the Folio Society. They're lovely, and they're lovely people too. I usually go to London every September and we have a nice lunch together. The publishers take me for a nice lunch. And we have a chat and we see if we can plot or mastermind new books together.
This is so lovely.
It
warms my heart. So out of the 80 books, which I'm sure is like having 80 children,
yes.
Which one would you say connected the most with your audience, and which one meant the most to you?
I think the fairy stories, How to See Fairies, has connected the most with the audience, and Tree Whispers, that poem. my favorite of anything I've done is The Wind in the Willows. But then of the books that we publish ourselves, you'll see two different kinds. Either
Yes.
soft covers,
Yes.
Wojcicki and I do those ourselves.
Like these
and-
ones over here.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And then the Folio Society publish our hardcover books.
Mm-hmm.
So probably the one that resonates the most with me in the ones we've done ourselves is Dream Island, which was, again, it was a dream I had in a hospital in Fiji when I went through the windshield of a taxi cab in a car accident. And I had such a strong and healing dream, I put it down on paper. And it's actually over there, but can I show it to you?
Yes,
Can you
please
reach
bring it.
over?
Yes,
You don't mind?
please do. Yes.
I'm
Hopefully the mic.
Yeah, this one. This is Dream Island, and the dream was so vivid. I set to work in my hospital bed, sketching out the bits and pieces, and therefore it became something that kind of helped me recover as well.
So tell us about the Dream Island.
Well, the Dream Island is I think the opening words are, once in a dream I traded my pillow for third class passage to the dream island of birds. There was an island inhabited by birds and animals who lived in peace and harmony with a
I
caretaker.
For me, this image right away gets me. The follow
There you
your
go.
dreams.
Okay.
Okay, please continue.
Oh no, that's ideal. Ideal that you should point that out.
And the fact that there is the bird and then you have the time.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What does that mean to you? What is the significance
Of
of this image
well,
right here?
time flies.
Yes.
Yeah, and time flies, but time also stands still. And when you learn to play with time, you can really build a much more productive and peaceful and joyous existence. When you know that when you're bored, that's actually a gift. That's time slowing down for you, you know, and time speeds up. Oh, I wrote a story about a clock that keeps to its own minutes. You know, when it's having a nice day, the clock slows down to 10 minutes a day, so it can take its time. You know, and then when it speeds up to normal time, when things are not going well, it can move it on. You know, and I suppose that time has just been such an important factor because I've always taken the time to sit quietly and work on this. People say, how on earth did you come up with these ideas? Well, if you've nothing else to do, you will come up with something clever if you put your mind to it, you know, or something creative or something that tickles you. So I suppose time has always been an ally, and I can remember things from when I was very, very little. I remember my parents from when I was young. I even would tell them I remembered them from before I was born. Now that's a long time ago. And my parents they never shut me down. My dad would say, okay, little daddy, tell me what I was like when you were my dad and I was your kid. And I'd tell him a whole story, you know. And it still lives within me today. I still remember those times from before I was born. Either I have a very active imagination or I'm onto something. And I remember, so time is critical to me to pay attention to. Our time here is so limited. I think our internal universal time is endless. But this is pretty special where we are, you know, living here. I remember saying to my dad when I was a boy, I said, Dad, I remember you going to the zoo in Johannesburg to meet a girl, and it wasn't Mom. And my dad said, what? I said, yeah, and I remember the jacket you wore. Look at that stripy brown sports coat. You met her, you know, near the flamingo pond. He said, well, you're right. How do you know? I said, I was there. He said, how could you? I said, and then he said, but don't worry, it wasn't your mother because I hadn't met your mother yet. So it was a long time ago. So because of these inner memories I have and the interplay between my parents and intergenerational play, time has always been such a significant and playful and creative thing to work with. I look at my assistant Waisiki and his wife. They have a beautiful family, Fijian family, and their two little kids. And the little boy, when he was that little boy, they named him after me. And when the little boy was 2 or 3, he just looked at me and said, "You're mine," you know. And I am. I'm supposed to be this, you know, well-known artist, but I'm not. I'm a human comfort animal to this little kid. That's what I really am. And how did he know to pinpoint me? Hey, you white man, you belong to me. It was great. And of course I'm proud to be have these connections with other humans. Very proud and very grateful.
That's beautiful, and thank you so much for sharing that insight with me, because I used to teach yoga back in the day, and I've done like Vipassana, where you go up and meditate for like 10, 11 days for like, you don't speak, you meditate on and off. Anyways, so part of the teachings was like at some points, like, and I've had on the show like hypnotherapists who are friends of mine and kind of mentors, and and they talk about that eternal truth, and that's what it was when you were sharing. And I think that's what creativity is too, and I think what's really beautiful and what a gift that your parents never doubted or never said to you, "Don't do that, that's not good," but they just allowed it. And I really had this picture of you like drawing and doing all of that, and it's the most beautiful thing, because it's those simple things. Like when I picked up your journal, there's a little journal over there where I'm actually going to grab it because it's so sweet. And I love the fact that it says, the Petite Journal, let simple and old-fashioned traditions stay with you while ordinary things have been disappearing in the world. And I'm very active on social media. I talk about this often, and how it can be a bit of an addiction, and we can be very much disconnected from our reality that is happening around us, and be swarmed in my home. For those who come to visit my home, I have like little libraries where and it's such a gift to myself when I stop, put my phone away.
Oh, there's a cuckoo clock.
The cuckoo clock, I love it.
Sorry about that.
No, it's great. It's adding like a great flair to our show. And hold a book to read, because so many times I'm listening to audiobooks and I'm doing errands and cleaning my home, but there's something about what you were saying that, when the time slows down, and for me the mind stops racing, and I sit down, whether it is a memoir or a fantasy book or anything, or I have a lot of like psychological books, like whatever it is that I'm reading, but I'm holding a book and my focus is just on this, and I'm not checking my phone or my emails. So it's those like simple things, and that's why I loved your little petite journal over here.
Well, you take that and you start your writing story on that. Start on that. And those are good size. I have them because I keep them in my pocket with a pencil, and you come up with an idea. You might be in a strange place. You might be walking down a forest trail, or else you're sitting in a restaurant waiting for someone to arrive. And if you don't write them down, they fly away.
Like birds.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you're saying too is what we talked about earlier, is just don't let the noise in. And social media and our technology is brilliant. It's up to the individual to be discerning about it. There's fabulous things in social media. And
we're going live right now.
And
we're live on YouTube right now.
And we are one of the fabulous things on social media.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's a complete gift. It's really opened my world a lot. Like I lived in Paris and France. I moved there without speaking French, and people thought I was crazy. But I knew, I traveled a lot, and I also knew that because of like working in media and because of social media, that I would be okay work-wise, and I would meet people, and opportunities and places would come, and I would enter stores like yours, and I would connect with people, and they call it the language of the heart. And that is certainly in your work. So let's talk about this book. I'm very fascinated by this beauty over here. The sketches from the Dream Island of Birds. So let's tell us about that.
All right, so you're looking at a picture of the artist drifting ashore on his sketchbook to the Dream Island. And because it's a dream, it plays with reality and surreality. So the palm tree has an elephant's foot, so it can move from sunlight to shade when it needs to.
I love that.
Yeah, and there's a shaggy land fish, so it's a fish but it lives on land.
Have you ever? This could almost be like an animation.
Well, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Sure.
Vancouver Film School is just around the corner.
And a line of birds here, and then there's hummingbirds who are working out an equation for life. They're weighing out nectar versus energy.
So when your friends or fans of your work come to you, and I'm sure just like myself, like inspired by the fact that how you just allow your imagination to open up like that. I know you've talked about this a little bit. I would love to hear like your process of like, of course you mentioned, and I've heard quite a few authors mention this before, that they have like a piece of pen or like a voice recorder or whatever next to their bed. They wake up in the middle of the night, they get ideas. I want to hear about like some more of your process of tapping into your creativity and B, allowing it to flourish, to not have like some sort of walls, allowing things to come and not judging or critiquing those ideas when they come.
All right. More than a dozen of the pieces I've done have had their germination in a dream. So I think that's that rich morning twilight time, which would be between 5 and 7 in the morning. That's when I seem to have my richest dreams. And
like when we asked you to wake up this morning.
You interrupted my dream time, darling.
The creative time. Oh.
No, I'm usually up that time anyway, so that wasn't an issue. And then if you write it down right away, it doesn't go, in fact it builds. Then you run a nice bath, sit in the bath and think about it and add
in the morning.
more. Yeah, in the morning,
I love
absolutely.
it.
Yeah, get up, have a bath, float around in the water a bit, and then the other critical thing for me is, but I don't know if this is for other people, is finding a quiet space to work. Now, I live largely on my own, I have a family, but I'm by myself. And for three or four nights of the week, so I get my own quiet time. And for me, well, you look at Dylan Thomas, who had that writer's hut in Wales. A little place that you go, you close the door, and it's only you there, and you don't do anything except your work. You don't take your phone with you. You don't. You stay away from distractions. You don't have to do anything, but if you are going to do anything while you're in there, it should be your writing or your drawing. And then I just work up sketches. So I'll sit. I'm not using any reference at this stage. I'll just work up because. So say I'm drawing an owl as part of a Full Moon Eyes poem. Drawing an owl. I'm not really drawing an owl. I am, but he's sort of the owl is a symbol of something. So it doesn't have to look anatomically like an owl. It should look engaging. But all that best stuff is coming from you, from that same place where those dreams came from. You can pull on your own, if you have faith in yourself, you can pull on those areas. And sometimes it's a battle. You don't get it right away, but you persevere until it starts to speak to you itself. The drawing starts, as you're working on it, it starts to build a life of its own. So that part is all, in my case, it's done quietly. Some people are fine. I mean, I think J.K. Rowling wrote while her kids were around her feet. That's genius. I can't do that. I've got to go somewhere quiet. And also, the island that Waisiki and family come from in Fiji is a quiet place. And so I'd spend a lot of time there quietly doing my work too. But yeah, the main thing is get started and draw out a map for yourself of where you want it to go. And don't be afraid to want the world in your project. Aim big, it'll come to you. You ask the universe for something, the universe will answer and will give it to you. When you ask for something, it forms a hollow, and that hollow will be filled with the request once you've asked for it. Because in the universe there is no real vacuum. You know, there's everything has a you make an opening, something will come into it. So I just think have faith in what you're doing. You know, and don't listen to people. Don't share with people who are going to say no to you. Work on it quietly at first on your own. Build your own strengths around it. I mean, look, you know, that's ideal. You can also, if you've got friends who are confidants, you know, and you're battling, well, get advice from them too. But really, your heart knows what you're trying to do. Let it speak.
Yeah, those are certainly words of wisdom. I feel you're speaking, you know, directly to my heart. And I've found, and especially this year, has been such a busy and blessed year for me. But as the work has gotten busier, I realized that the outside noise, I've had to really focus on self-care, even though I pulled my back yesterday. But it's like, you know, finding the time to myself. Like yesterday I was working out, I'm like lighting candles and lifting weights and just kind of going into that zone of like self-care, and friends are messaging me trying to get me to, and I was like, no, I need to be well rested, I need to be well slept, I need to be in a certain state. And even though with the little back injury I didn't really sleep the best, but at the same time it's the intention of how I'm going to be showing up today, because the work doesn't just start today, it's the days before.
Absolutely.
And then of course yesterday, and getting in the, you know, it's like what you were mentioning of your parents saying to be of service. That was so beautiful, because I think it could be such an injustice to the world to not share your gifts and your art. You know, the show I was doing before this for Story Hive, I called it The Inspired Life, and you know, I wanted to know what inspired everyone. So everything that you're mentioning, like those are the conversations that we've had with guests, whether they're athletes or actors or authors or scientists or doctors or psychologists, and then getting past their own fear, because we have that inner critic, whether we got it from family or not, or it's just internalized, that what are the friends and the society or whatever. It sounds like you're not afraid of falling.
No, well, no.
Of like tripping over,
No.
like, you know, you take these risks, like at least my perception.
No, I think
Because
you're right.
how
I
you
make
even,
a lot of mistakes, but you know, you can't.
but you have to
I'm
get
not
past the fear.
I'm not identified by my mistakes. You know, not at all. You know, that's not. Then they aren't really mistakes. There isn't a mistake. It's just, you know, that situation isn't ready or ripe. The idea is not ripe. Work on it some more. Take risks. You don't have to take crazy risks, but take little personal risks all the time. It's good for you. It's like a muscle, you know. And I'm fortunate to work with the nicest people in the world. I mean, you met Indica, who's an absolute darling. You haven't met Waisiki, you will later this morning. The man who works with me and helps, he runs our publishing, and he's the nicest guy in the world, you know. I've known him for 40 years almost. He's never said a mean thing to me, you know. He probably does behind my back. He should. But you know, I just think, and I'm surrounded by my family. As I said, my dad was my best friend. We lost him sadly 4 years ago, but he was a very old man, and you'd be surprised how unusual that is. I thought everybody's dad was their best friend, but friends say no. My dad was a dad, and my best friend is Bob. You know. But I've always been very grateful for the people who I'm around. You know, very, very high quality human beings, and they tickle the work out of me too. You know, sometimes I'll think about, oh, you know, Waisiki, I know he loves the owls. I'll draw an owl because I know it'll please him. You know, and then you see he's skipping along happy because he had some input in a book. You know, and he's helped me. None of these projects are done. I'm not an island. You know, Waisiki advises me. My father used to. My brother in Australia, and then My other two best friends, Sikuri in the UK, always gives his 2 cents worth on the project, and he was my tour manager when we went on a reading tour in England in October. And then the man who looks after our place in Fiji, Sam, also they're solid guys, solid people, and I wouldn't be doing this on my own.
So tell me more about this beautiful book.
Okay, well, there's the caretaker of the Dream Island. That was one of my friends in Fiji who looked after me in hospital when I had the car accident. And if you turn the page, you'll see there's Morpheus the lion, who's the guardian, and the lion and the birds all live in harmony. And so it was an idealistic dream.
I did see quite a bit of the lion when I walked in.
Yes.
I love lions.
Yeah, well, for me, I have two spirit animals, I think, that I feel touch me, and one is the lion and the other is the owl for me. And you're a lion?
Well, my astrological sign is
Are you Leo? Oh, okay.
And so I'm, very drawn to cats, but certainly mesmerized by, I think elephants, giraffes, animals are beautiful. I would love the opportunity to go to Africa and also Fiji. My ears pricked a little bit when you were like, my home in Fiji. I was like, excuse me? I am there. Can we do our next show in Fiji?
Yes, next show will be under a palm tree.
Yeah. But I do very much feel connected to lions. And as soon as I entered your store, I noticed all the owls. And again, there was something very warm and inviting about them. And, right away I was like, oh my God, that would look so beautiful framed in my home. And it looks so unique. And there was the vibe of, this is not, I didn't really know your story at the moment. Just happened to walk in.
You just came in out of the blue?
Yes, out of the blue. No, I was with a photographer and I'm like, oh, this store looks really interesting. The door looks really interesting. Can we just go, we're going in, and the color, the green of the walls, and you didn't have your Christmas decor up yet. And it just had a vibration to it, the colors. I really believe in intention, and it sounds like you're a very intentional person in the work that you do, very connected to your heart and the message, and also the gift that you're giving and the service through your work, through your creativity, that you inspire. And I'm sure anyone who receives these books, like, as soon as, and then Indica started sharing, oh, it's a little, what? How come I've never heard the name? And right away, and as soon as you walked in, I was like, I need to have you on the show. Can we film here? And
well, and that's the lovely thing about Indica and Waisiki and Sikuri and Sam and my family, is they're doing whatever they can to help me spread the word. Because we all feel it's nice to do something to try and make the world slightly softer, nicer place. It's not like I'm going to make a big difference, but whatever you put out is important. So for us, we feel it's, yes, it's nice to get a paycheck at the end of the week, but the more important part of it for us, the part that makes us all get excited to see each other and to work on these projects, is that we think we're trying to contribute. That's what we hope we are.
And especially when it lands or resonates with someone,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure the fact that when you were doing your readings or you're going on this reading tour, what is that experience like for you, having an audience of these adults, and you have these beautiful fantasy books that you're reading, your poems, and you have your art. What is that like for you?
It's so, it feels like such a privilege when you have an audience of people looking at you with kind eyes. There's one gentleman, when I was in England, he'd come for three times in a row, 3 years in a row. He's just here, to hear the Tree Whispers poem and whatever else you're doing. But he said, please make sure you always include that poem with it. And you know, people take the time to come out on a blustery day and make the effort to see you. It's a privilege for me. So I just, and I love it. I think it's what I like doing the most is connecting with people based on the work I've done and the ideas and messages, and also it's fun. It's fun to do. This last year, Sikuri played guitar, and he managed my little tour, and he played for me while I sang a song or two from the album we did 10 years ago. And then he brought out a kava bowl and mixed a brew of Fijian kava, which is like a herbal drink.
Yes, I'm familiar with kava.
Yeah, and I said to him, Sikuri, what are you doing? And he said, Charlie, give these people a variety. So we had all these very fine older ladies and gentlemen tasting kava, and there's a ceremony, you clap and you say a little opening sentence, and one gentleman said, I can't feel the tip of my tongue, and so Sikuri's joking with him. He says, don't worry, sir, it'll fall off on your pillow while you sleep tonight. And at the end of it, there was a gentleman came up to us, an older man. He said, I go to readings all the time, and they are dead boring. This, however, and I didn't know how to take that. I said, well, you're a stoic gentleman. And he said, no. He said, when I look at your work, it looks like the work of an Englishman. But then you talk, you read, I meet your assistant there, and all of what you bring with you from Fiji and the heart of it, it's tribal. And that's coming from an Englishman in London. And I thought, how nicely said. And of course, Sikuri's jumping up and down with smiles, because he said, look, what is unique for us, Charlie, is our story is unique as well. And you've got to bring warmth into these kind of environments, And so I just, as I said, it's a privilege, and reading with people and having people pay attention and enjoy it is, it's about the biggest compliment you can get, or you can receive, and that you can give. So it's a nice way to share.
I love what you mentioned earlier, that your books are for the adults whose child is still active or inside of them, or needs a voice.
Grown-ups who enjoy remembering what it was like to be a child. Absolutely.
Completely. And it sounds like you're very connected to your inner child. Like, I'm very fascinated by the inner child work, or like non-dominant handwriting, and I read books or done meditations as an artist, because when we're adulting, it's like, being this there was like a story that you ask a kid to be an adult, and the kid is just like playing and drawing and coloring, and as soon as they imagine being an adult, they're stiff.
You're right.
And they're like proper and stiff. And versus like a child, where the creativity comes from, where hopefully there is no boundary on the imagination, ideas are coming and flowing, and that's what I see when I see your book and your drawings, that you're allowing these ideas. I don't know if you've done this. I would love to be like, to hear if you were doing like a workshop or something, because it sounds like you're so tapped into your creative energy.
Think about it, that from going from childhood to adulthood, only one or two things need to adjust. And one is responsibility and follow through. Do what you say you're going to do, which is, in a kid, you do not expect that from a child. Let the child run around and be free. The rest of you, can still be a complete child, completely. But if you've got follow through and integrity and some structure to get you through the day, that's all you. The rest can be played. You don't need not a lot of. Now, learning those three things is a challenge. All that's why we have teenagers. Who don't. Who rebel and don't listen to their parents, and so on. They're working all that stuff out for themselves, Reject it because they see it, they look as a stodgy old guy like me and think, oh God. don't want to be like that. And then finally they realize, hey, that's not so bad because look, he's always smiling, you know. And I think that that's keeping it's that placing you that goes to a level of delight. You know, maybe it's that you like chocolate and you think, ooh, I'm going to have a chocolate, you know. Or a little glass of whiskey, or maybe it's a walk through the woods by yourself, or whatever can bring that delight. That's still your child. You know? And creativity. I mean, creativity is animals show creativity. We all do, and we don't need to stifle it.
My dog shows creativity in how he can manipulate me to get more treats. And how he can get more after, you know, how he can beg like strangers for food and snacks, and I see that. I honestly felt like that was 5 minutes, and I know we've been going on for like an hour. I am so fascinated by
Zara,
the
thank
work
you.
you've done, and you know, for anyone who's watching, right now you're very passionate also about the holidays, about Christmas.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about your store. For anyone watching, I really hope you come and visit Charles Van Sandwyk. The store is on Canby Street between Hastings and what is the cross street?
That's Hastings and
Carroll?
Cordova. We're at 315 Canby.
315 Canby. So tell us quickly a little bit about the store, because I know they are not getting to see the full store right now.
Well, we have it done up for Christmas. Christmas is always a lot of fun. When I was a kid, we, you know, ongoing theme here. My father's parents were wonderful, and they did lovely Christmases for us. So we'd stay with them for a month. And so I just like at Christmas time to make it cozy. You know, we have some old-fashioned ornaments, things made in Europe, and then we have lots of fun, frilly little bits and pieces, and chocolates. We did mention chocolates earlier, didn't we? Yeah, yeah. And then lots of greeting cards and my books.
And also artwork,
Yeah.
so it's
And
they
artwork
can
by
be-
me, and also
yes.
by Sunur Singh, a young Punjabi boy, a gentleman who is a brilliant artist. He's only 22. We don't actually like him very much because he's very talented, much more talented than any of us were at that age. No, we are very, very fond of Sunur, and he's painted some scenes of Gastown and local environments, and in a very kind of a expressionist watercolor sort of gritty inner city look. Very, very clever. So yeah, we're here every day except Mondays.
Okay, and Mondays we're filming
Yeah.
today. You know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for welcoming us. Your books look like such a treasure, Charles.
Bless
They're
you, Zara.
so beautiful, and I feel like even as I view them and I hold them in my hands, it makes me want to draw, and B, it inspires my creativity. And reading your words, like whether the tree whispers or here, it inspires me to do something to get out of my own comfort zone, whether it is to paint or draw or like expand more creatively. So it is such an experience being in this store. You guys need to come and visit. If you do, tell them you heard about the store through our show On Location with Zara Durrani. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, very early morning today.
Thank you for having me, Zara. It's very kind of you.
Charles Van Sandwyk, we were here live, brought to you produced with the support of TELUS Story Hive. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, I'm your host, Zara Durrani.